Hey guys, how's it going? Hope you're doing well. My name is Crown, and today I'm going to read you some very interesting stories that I hope that you're gonna love. And now, without further ado, let's go!
I've been working in retail for about 5 years now, mostly in stockrooms. That was until our new supervisor showed up 3 months ago. And, well, she was a classic Karen. From day one, Karen made it clear she wasn't here to make friends. She strutted around our stockroom like she owned the place, clipboard permanently attached to her hand, treating us like we were soldiers in her personal army. But her real obsession? Speed. Everything had to be done at lightning pace, even if it meant cutting corners. I told her I was almost done with the section's inventory check. She immediately snapped back, questioning why it had taken me an hour already, insisting it should take 20 minutes tops. When I tried to explain that we needed to verify each item properly, she just rolled her eyes. She told me we weren't building rockets and to just get it done quickly, adding that the other stockroom workers managed just fine. I attempted to explain how other workers were making mistakes because of rushing, but she wasn't having any of it. Using that condescending tone managers love, she warned me that if I couldn't keep up with their pace expectations, maybe they needed to reconsider my position here. That's when I decided to give Karen exactly what she wanted. The next day, I had another inventory check scheduled. Instead of my usual thorough process, I became the fastest inventory checker she'd ever seen. I barely looked at the shelves, didn't bother opening a single box, and just wrote down whatever numbers popped into my head. 20 minutes later, I was done with what usually takes 2 hours. Karen was beaming with pride. She gloated about how this proved I could be more efficient when I pushed myself. I just smiled innocently and told her I was just following her instructions. She promised that if I kept this up, I might see a nice bonus in my future. A week later, all hell broke loose. The store manager called an emergency meeting. Turns out our inventory was completely messed up. Thousands of dollars worth of discrepancies. Products that should have been there weren't. And things that were supposedly in stock were nowhere to be found. The store manager demanded to know how our inventory got this bad. Karen was quick to point fingers, blaming the stockroom team for being careless with their counts and saying we needed to be more accurate. That's when I raised my hand. I explained that I was actually following Karen's direct instructions. I told them she had specifically told us to skip thorough checks and just get things done as quickly as possible, adding that I had witnesses who heard her say it multiple times. The store manager turned to Karen, demanding to know if this was true. Karen started stammering, trying to backtrack by claiming she just meant we should work more efficiently. The store manager was furious, asking if she had any idea how much this mess would cost us, announcing we'd need a complete recount of everything. The next day was beautiful. Karen and a few others had to spend 14 hours doing a complete inventory recount. Every single item had to be checked and verified. The regional manager even showed up to oversee the process. Throughout the day, I made sure to check in on them frequently. I cheerfully asked Karen if she needed me to speed things up for her, suggesting I could probably knock out sections in 5 minutes. She couldn't say anything back because she knew I was just quoting her own words. When the recount was finally done, they found over $8,000 in inventory discrepancies. Karen got more than just a warning. She was put on a performance improvement plan, and the regional manager personally supervised her for the next month. 2 weeks later, I got a bonus for identifying and helping correct significant inventory control issues. When I went to sign for my bonus, Karen had to be the one to hand me the paperwork. As I took the bonus slip, I made sure to tell her not to worry, that I processed the paperwork super quick. Wouldn't want to waste any time. These days, Karen doesn't say much about speed anymore. Actually, she doesn't say much at all, especially when I'm around. But I make sure to remind her occasionally about efficiency by working at a deliberately steady pace while making eye contact. It's amazing how much more peaceful the stockroom is when things are done right the first time. I've been living in this neighborhood for about 5 years now, with my husband and our 8-year-old son. My husband used to be part of the Special Weapons and Tactics team before retiring to work in private security. which honestly turned out to be a blessing given what happened last weekend. We've always had issues with our next-door neighbor. She moved in about 2 years ago, and from day one she's been nothing but trouble. Every little thing sets her off. Kids playing, dogs barking, even people talking on their phones in their own yards. She's filed countless noise complaints against practically everyone on our street, but the police stopped taking her seriously months ago. My son and his friends usually play on our street after school. It's a safe neighborhood, and all the parents keep an eye out from their windows or porches. The kids aren't particularly loud. They're just being kids, riding their bikes, playing ball, or having fun with chalk drawings on the sidewalk. Last Saturday, my son was playing with 3 of his friends. I was inside preparing lunch but checking on them every few minutes through the window. Everything seemed normal until I heard screaming outside. By the time I got to the door, I couldn't see my son anywhere. One of his friends came running to our house, crying hysterically. He frantically told me that Karen had dragged my son into her house while screaming at them about being too loud. I immediately called my husband at work. When I told him someone had taken our son and that the neighbor had dragged him into her house, he immediately said he was on his way and told me to call the police right away. I called the police while running to Karen's house. I could hear my son crying inside, but she wouldn't answer the door. I demanded she open the door and tell me where my son was. Through the door, she yelled back that my brat needed to learn a lesson about disturbing the peace, saying she'd had enough of kids screaming all day. When I told her she was insane and to let him out, she refused, saying he could come out when he learned to be quiet. She ranted about how she'd called the police about the noise 100 times, and since nobody did anything, she was handling it herself. Then I heard my son crying out for help, telling me she had locked him in the basement. I've never felt such rage and fear in my life. I could hear my son sobbing from somewhere inside the house. Other parents from the street started gathering around and someone was recording everything on their phone. Within minutes, 3 police cars arrived, followed shortly by my husband's truck. He jumped out in his tactical gear. He'd come straight from work. When Karen saw the police, she started yelling through her window that she was teaching my kid a lesson, claiming she had rights and calling the children a menace to the neighborhood. When the police officer ordered her to open the door immediately, she refused, saying she wouldn't until parents learned to control their kids. My husband had enough. He told the police officer that was his son in there and warned he was giving her 3 seconds to open that door before he broke it down. The officer started to protest, but before he could finish, my husband had already rammed the door. It flew off its hinges. Karen started screaming about her property rights, but my husband was already tearing through the house. He found the basement door locked and kicked it open. Our son was huddled in a corner of the basement, terrified but unhurt. My husband scooped him up and carried him out while the police dealt with Karen, who was now having a complete meltdown. She was screaming about assault, demanding we be arrested for her door, and claiming she was protecting the neighborhood. The police officer told her she was under arrest for kidnapping and false imprisonment of a minor. She became even more hysterical, refusing to believe she could be arrested and still insisting the kids were disturbing the peace. They put her in handcuffs while she kept screaming about noise violations and property damage. Turns out she had multiple complaints filed against her from other neighbors about harassment and threatening behavior. The police found out she had been recording neighborhood children without parental consent and keeping logs of their violations. The whole incident caused a huge scene. More police cars arrived and news vans showed up later. Karen's house was searched, and they found all sorts of creepy notes and recordings of the neighborhood kids. She had been building some kind of delusional case against all the families on our street. She ended up being charged with kidnapping, false imprisonment, stalking, and several other charges. The judge denied her bail because she was deemed a threat to the community. The police commended my husband for his quick action, though they officially had to advise against civilians taking such measures in the future. Our son was shaken up but recovered quickly, especially after seeing his dad kick down 2 doors to rescue him. The incident actually brought our neighborhood closer together. We now have regular block parties and the kids play even more freely than before. As for Karen's house, it was put up for sale while she awaits trial. The new owners are a lovely young couple with twins who love playing outside. I'm a dog trainer by profession, and I've been working with service dogs for over a decade now. My current companion is a beautiful German Shepherd who's been with me for 6 years. Unfortunately, about 8 months ago, she started developing progressive retinal atrophy, which has been steadily affecting her vision. She's still capable and confident, but she's naturally become more cautious, especially with sudden movements or when people approach her from behind. This morning I decided to grab my usual coffee from the local shop where I've been a regular for the past 3 years. My dog was on a short lead, staying close to my leg as we waited in line. The shop wasn't particularly busy, just a handful of customers ahead of us. That's when everything went sideways. I felt some movement behind me, and before I could turn around, an older gentleman had squeezed past me and was already reaching for my dog's face. My dog immediately backed up, pressing against my legs. I politely asked the man not to touch my dog, explaining that she was partially sighted and could get startled easily. The man immediately became defensive, accusing me of being hostile, and insisted he was just being friendly. I tried to explain that he shouldn't touch any dog without asking the owner first, but before I could finish, I felt someone grab my jacket from the side. It was a woman, probably in her 50s, who I assume was related to the older man. The woman tried to dismiss my concerns, saying it was fine because the older man just loved animals so much. I attempted to explain that while I appreciated his love for animals, it didn't give him the right to touch any dog he wanted, especially since my dog was partially sighted and could get scared. The woman kept repeating that he loved dogs, completely ignoring my explanation. When I asked her to let go of my jacket, she suddenly became hostile, calling me mentally ill and telling me that since they were regulars, I should take my drink and leave, using explicit language to make her point. I called out her rudeness, which only made things worse. The woman started calling for the manager, waving frantically at one of the baristas. Both the older man and the woman talked over me whenever I tried to speak, accusing me of being aggressive, hostile, and unreasonable. They even claimed I had threatened them, which I hadn't, and accused me of making a scene while they were the ones shouting. The manager, who I'll call Sarah since she's known me for years, finally came over. The woman immediately launched into accusations, claiming I was being extremely rude and threatening, emphasizing their status as regulars. The older man tried to downplay his actions, saying he just wanted to pet the dog. I explained to Sarah what had actually happened, how they had grabbed my dog without permission and my clothes when I objected, and how they had cursed at me when I tried to explain about my dog's partial blindness. Sarah asked if this was true, and the woman reluctantly admitted they might have gotten carried away, but still tried to blame my attitude. Sarah told them about the shop's strict policy regarding service animals and unauthorized touching. When the woman tried to defend themselves by saying they didn't know it was a service dog, Sarah stated that permission was required for touching any dog. The older man finally apologized to Sarah for causing trouble, but notably, they both ignored me completely. Sarah noticed this and suggested they owed me an apology as well. The woman tried to justify their behavior by again claiming I had been rude, but Sarah defended me, explaining that asking someone not to touch your dog isn't rude but responsible pet ownership. She even went as far as suggesting they find another coffee shop if they couldn't respect other customers and their boundaries. When the woman's face turned red and the man started making excuses about being regulars, Sarah stood firm. She told them that being regular customers didn't give them the right to harass others or their animals, and gave them a choice between apologizing properly or leaving. They ended up mumbling a barely audible apology in my general direction before quickly leaving the shop. Sarah gave me my usual order on the house and promised they would prevent similar incidents in the future. You know what's funny? If these people saw a child in the shop, they wouldn't dream of running up and grabbing them without permission. They wouldn't tell the parent, but I love children, as if that makes it okay. But somehow they think it's perfectly fine to do this with someone's dog. The entitlement is just astounding. Let me tell you about what happened during my final semester of college, about 6 years ago. I was so close to graduating. Just one more required class for my major and a few random electives to fill the minimum credits. Everything was going smoothly until I checked who my professor would be for that final required course. My stomach dropped when I saw the name. It was the same professor I'd had as a freshman, and believe me, he was something else. This guy, imagine the most stereotypical power-tripping professor you can think of, then multiply that by 10. He had this system where he'd dock your grade percentage by percentage for every class you missed or showed up late to. He seemed to get a kick out of humiliating students in front of the entire class. Just thinking about having to deal with him again gave me anxiety. As luck would have it, I got sick right at the start of the semester. Nothing serious, but enough to make me miss his first Tuesday class. I made sure to show up on Thursday though. No way was I missing 2 classes in a row with this guy. The moment I walked in, he gave me this look. You know the type, like a predator that just spotted its prey. I decided to be proactive and approached him before class. I politely greeted him and explained that I had missed Tuesday's class due to being sick. He just nodded, but something about his expression made me uneasy. I tried to shake it off and focus on the lecture, but after class he called me over, and I swear, he had this gleam in his eyes that spelled trouble. He told me with obvious satisfaction that since I had missed his first class of the first week, he was allowed to drop me from the course. He added with fake sympathy that I would have to take the class next semester. The way he said it, he wasn't sorry at all. He was enjoying this. But here's the thing. I knew the university policy. You could only be dropped if you missed 50% of classes during the first 2 weeks. I'd only missed 1 out of 4 possible classes in those 2 weeks. I went straight to our department building. There was an administrative assistant by the elevator, and I explained the situation to her. She confirmed my understanding of the policy. You needed to miss at least 2 classes in those first 2 weeks to be dropped. And then the elevator doors opened, and who walks up? My professor. I couldn't have planned it better if I tried. That's when I had my moment. With the sweetest smile I could muster, I asked the administrative assistant to explain the policy to my professor, adding that he didn't seem very familiar with it. The administrative assistant then explained that, according to the policy, a student could only be dropped if they missed 50% of classes during the first 2 weeks, and that missing 1 class out of 4 didn't meet that threshold. The look on his face, I wish I had a picture. His smug expression melted away faster than ice cream on a hot summer day. He went from looking like he'd won the lottery to looking like someone had just told him his car got towed. He stammered out that he understood and supposed I could stay in the class. I replied with a polite thank you and told him I'd see him next Tuesday. The rest of the semester was interesting, to say the least. He never tried to pull anything like that again, though I could tell it killed him inside every time he saw me in class. I worked my butt off and ended up getting a B in his class. Was it the highest grade I'd ever gotten? No, but considering everything that happened, it felt like a victory. Every time he'd start getting snippy with other students, I'd just sit there with a little smile on my face, and he'd catch my eye and dial it back a notch. And now we have reached the end of today's stories. Thank you for watching, and see you next time.